The 2023 election result prediction in northern Nigeria. We are now less than a month to the most decisive general election in Nigeria, the most populous country in Africa. For the first time, more than 2 major candidates are primarily preferred in different zones of the country. Northern Nigeria, with 54% of registered voters, will be a decisive region that will determine the outcome of the election. How does each of the candidates affect the other in each zone of the Northern Nigeria? Who are the first choice and second choice candidates of each of the zones in the region? Who could have inherited their support if one of the candidates was not contested? Who will win in the 2023 election in Northern Nigeria? Based on the Northern Nigerian survey of people's first and second preferences among candidates, we concluded and predicted the election results as follows. Atiku Abubakar is the most preferred candidate among all the candidates in northern Nigeria. He is the most preferred candidate by more than 70% of the respondents from the region. He won in all the geopolitical zones in the region. Kwankwaso came second as the most preferred candidate in the north, but with only 10%. Tinubu and Obi came third and fourth with 8% and 4% respectively. 39% of Peter Obi supporters in the north will still choose Peter Obi as their second choice, while 32% of them could have supported Atiku Abubakar, if not because of Peter Obi. 39% of Atiku supporters in the north will still choose Atiku as their second choice, and 35% of Atiku supporters could have gone for Kwankwaso. 43% of Tinubu supporters in the north went for Kwankwaso as their second choice candidate, while 38% of them chose Atiku as their second choice. Only 11% of Tinubu supporters in the north will support him as their second choice. This means that most Tinubu supporters in the north consider other candidates as formidable options and could choose those candidates on a second chance. Tinubu supporters in the north are not potential supporters of Peter Obi, but 43% and 37% of them could have supported Kwankwaso and Atiku respectively. However, most Atiku supporters in the north are likely supporters of Kwankwaso by 40%, and supporters of Obi are likely supporters of Atiku by 37%. Therefore, the candidacy of Peter Obi is directly affecting Atiku's candidacy by 37%. But Atiku's candidacy does not affect Obi's candidacy significantly in the region. It also means that Peter Obi has taken Atiku's supporters, but Atiku did not take much from Obi's supporters from the region. Similarly, Kwankwaso's candidacy directly affects Atiku's candidacy and vice versa, because 63% of Kwankwaso supporters could have voted for Atiku, and 40% of Atiku supporters could have voted for Kwankwaso. Atiku's candidacy affects Kwankwaso's candidacy more than how Kwankwaso's candidacy affects Atiku's candidacy. Tinubu's candidacy affects Atiku and Kwankwaso, because 43% of Tinubu supporters in the north could have voted for Kwankwaso, and 37% of Tinubu supporters in the north could have voted for Atiku. Tinubu's candidacy affects mostly Kwankwaso's candidacy. Let us predict and analyze the results based on geopolitical zones in the region. But before that, we can easily conclude that Kwankwaso cannot win the election in the north as long as Atiku and Tinubu are on the ballot in the 2023 election. Also, Peter Obi cannot win in the north as long as Atiku is on the ballot. That will mean that Kwankwaso and Obi are eliminated from being likely winners of the election in the north. And Atiku will win in the north and Tinubu will lose in all the 3 zones in the region. Let us analyze how we came to this conclusion by looking at each zone. Let us start with the North Central. 73% of the people from the North Central prefer Atiku as their first choice, followed by Peter Obi with 14%. Atiku won the North Central zone. 36% of North Central people who support Obi could have endorsed Atiku Abubakar. Had it been Peter Obi is not on the ballot, 36% of Peter Obi supporters in the North Central could have gone for Atiku. Obi has shortened Atiku in the North Central by 36% of Obi's supporters. Only 9% of Obi supporters in the North Central could have voted for Tinubu. Therefore, Obi's candidacy affects Atiku in North Central more than how it affects Tinubu. In addition, 39% of Atiku voters in North Central could have voted for Kwankwaso. Atiku's candidacy affects Kwankwaso's candidacy the most in North Central. In the Northeast, 85% of voters prefer Atiku Abubakar as their first choice candidate. Atiku got the highest margin in his zone the Northeast. Atiku Abubakar won the Northeast and is also the most preferred second choice candidate with 41% and then Kwankwaso with 33%. Apart from Atiku, among other second choice preferred candidates, Obi is more second choice preferred than Tinubu, where he got 13% and Tinubu got 6% in the Northeast. If Tinubu is not contested, 50% of his voters in the Northeast could have voted for Kwankwaso. If Tinubu is not contested, only 25% of his voters could have voted for Atiku. Tinubu's candidacy is affecting Kwankwaso the most in the Northeast. In addition, 33% of Atiku voters could have voted for Kwankwaso. Atiku's candidacy is also affecting Kwankwaso significantly in the Northeast. That is why Kwankwaso will not win in the Northeast as long as Atiku and Tinubu are on the ballot. Let's now go to the Northwest. Northwest will decide the outcome of this election because it is the largest zone. 73% of the voters from the zone prefer Atiku Abubakar as their first choice, followed by 16% of them who prefer Kwankwaso as their first choice. Atiku Abubakar won the Northwest with the second biggest margin than any other zone. In terms of second choice preference, 42% of them still prefer Atiku Abubakar as their second choice candidate, and 41% of them prefer Kwankwaso as their second choice candidate. If Kwankwaso is not contested, 62% of his voters in the Northwest could have voted for Atiku Abubakar. Kwankwaso's candidacy is affecting Atiku Abubakar in the Northwest the most. However, if Kwankwaso was not contested, only 15% of his voters could have voted for Tinubu. 46% of Atiku voters could have voted for Kwankwaso. Atiku's candidacy affects Kwankwaso the most in the Northwest. Both Atiku and Kwankwaso affect each other in the Northwest, but Kwankwaso's candidacy affects Atiku's candidacy more than Atiku's candidacy affects Kwankwaso's candidacy in the Northwest. Peter Obi and Bola Tinubu will not inherit a significant number of Atiku voters from the Northwest. They will only get 7% and 4% of them, respectively. Therefore, Atiku is the most likely candidate to win northern Nigeria in the 2023 presidential election, as he is most likely to win all the three geopolitical zones in the region. Therefore, candidates like Tinubu, Peter Obi, and Kwankwaso have no chance of winning the election in the north because of Atiku's domination in the region. Thank you.